Welcome to the Grim Reaper Radio Network, the final resting place for ideas both controversial and tame. I'm death, not taxes. I turn up only once. The truth may be out there, but the lies are inside your head. Despite the rumor, Death isn't cruel, merely terribly good at his job. It is often said that life is cheap. This is, of course, completely wrong. Life is often very expensive, but you can get death for free. Do you not know that a man is not dead while his name is still spoken? Light thinks it travels faster than anything, but it is wrong. No matter how fast light travels, it finds the darkness has always gotten there first, and is waiting for it. Join Grim on his distinctly underground network.
Well, so underground, I've got a special guest who's going to be with us for the first half hour. But first of all, I'd just like to say welcome to all of you who have turned up, and thank you to Monk as well. We've got Vander, we've got Rachel, Stevie Boy, and Marie. Phil, you better behave yourself, Phil. Shorty. And we also got UK Transparency, who wins this week's title of the first person to comment. So he got his pinned. So without further ado, you've met him all before. My friend from over in the States, Snowy. Good evening or good afternoon at your end.
I find your lack of happy thoughts disturbing.
You ain't seen nothing yet or heard it.
What's up, Doug? What's happening? What's going on?
Did you like the intro? Did you watch it? That one?
Yeah, I did. I was here for it.
I was, because what I did was, I didn't actually ask anybody. I just got a couple of guys who sent me them. They've done some work. I'm going to dig the other one out later. And because I can't remember where I stored it. And I'll show that one next week. But the original has always got to be shown. So I will be showing that. I had done a big
that one had a little more texture to it, to be honest.
Yeah. Boss Dog, how you doing? It's like a ghost train in here.
You have no idea, Big G. I'm such a You have no clue.
I will say this,
there, bro.
I have no idea what is going to happen. Myself and Story were chatting in the early hours of our morning, and I hit upon this idea of doing something about the First Amendment, but I actually needed an American. So I ended up with this Canadian. I mean, with this guy.
Canada. Isn't that like America's hat? Isn't that state that doesn't pay taxes? I don't know.
Isn't that called North America, the continent? I mean, really?
Stared different.
So the First Amendment.
Right.
I tell you what, there are 5 parts to it. If any single member of the chat can actually name them, I'll pin your message. But I will give you a clue. The first one is what I'm all about, which is freedom of speech. Is that a bit camp, eh?
It's okay. We're not going to hold it against him. He can come over here and talk to us Southerners anytime we get good and ready. Mhm. You got a real pretty mouth, boy.
If I sound gay, it must be you need new hearing aids.
You have to be.
Oh wow, really?
Really?
There's only one gay person in here, and I'm not going to say who it is, but it's not me, and we're both on the panel. Work that one out. So after the insults that you gave me this morning, he did try. He did try. He was telling me some funny stories about when he was a debt collector many moons ago.
I used to call me Bill. I'm the Bill you owe, so I'm the Bill you pay.
Yeah, but it was the way that he did it which was funny. That's what it is. I need to know when Monk's in. Because he did threaten with coming over because he's half American and he's got his own views on the First Amendment.
All right, so
So we got here.
Free transparency made a swing at it.
That's the one. Yeah, you go top of the class with that one, my friend. When the chat stops, I can sort something.
Right? Yeah, no, it just went to jumping.
Oh, there you go. Right. So let me bring up a little slide here. Just give me a second so I'll share the screen. There we go. Now, the good thing in this is that we can talk because there's no background music or anything. So, United States First Amendment, an open question to the guest. What year was it written in?
Oh, Lord. Like as an official amendment, or are you talking about like the papers?
The Constitution. The Constitution, because this is where it comes from. You know, you got originally you had 10.
When was it ratified or when was it written?
Yeah, when was it written? When was the Constitution written?
That's the thing, dude, is it had a lot of contributors. It took a while for it to be collated and stuff. So.
Okay, well, let's say published. What year?
1780, correct? Because it took them a while to get it together. It was signed. It was officially ratified with a signature 1776.
And that's when it came into effect.
A couple of years before the rest of the states were fully ratified.
Yeah, but that's the date that's ingrained on everybody's.
Right. It's not 1776 because that's when John Hancock signed it. That's not when every single colony of the U.S. did it. You know.
Yeah, but that's when it came in. Oh, 777 question mark.
Well, that's going to be a hard one to explain.
Yeah. There's a lot of things.
1777.
1777. Well, everything I've looked into, it all says the same 1776. So I think they've literally taken it from the very first signature. And that's when it became the Constitution. So I can't go back in time, but I'm sure with that thing behind you, you can work it out.
No.
Do a little promo on it.
No, this is where I put all the shits I give.
Ah, right. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. So we got the right to free speech, which is what this show's all about. and what the network's all about. The freedom of the press, all for that, definitely. The right to assemble, unless you go to the Capitol building. Then it's not constitutional. The right to petition the government for the redress of grievances. Now, if you take that literal, it is only the government. Now, there is a funny thing. The American government is sort of split into two halves, two different houses, a bit like the Lords and the House of Commons, but the Lords can't do much. Whereas over in the States, you've got two different houses, and it's not Republican and Democrat. What are they again? It's gone. House, Congress, and what's the other one? No,
Come on, you can do it. That's right. There's There's three branches. You have the legislative, court system.
Yeah, but you've got two houses that discuss and it gets passed.
We have the House.
You've got Congress and I can't. Do you know what? The other one's gone. The Senate. Thank you.
Yes.
And as a general rule, usually one party rules one of them. It's rare that the same party rule both. Although I think it has happened. So taking that literal, you can only petition to those two houses or to your senator or your whoever it is. Load of codswallop. Government also includes local government. So of course you can take any grievances to your local government. Now,
you're supposed to be able to, but
yeah, I'm not saying you can't.
A handful of cases where people went to public meetings and the counselors or the chair people or whatever closed the meetings rather than hear the public because they couldn't stop the public.
Well, yes. And then you got freedom of religion. Now, it doesn't matter what it is, you know, if you've got a recognized religion, and I say recognized because some religions are questionable, but they say they're religions. But I'm not going to be very Scientology around that one. But I think everything else works over there. Now, from our point of view over here on, UK, I should say Great Britain, all of those are what we do anyway, one way or another. And we do have the right to assemble. Granted, we do have to ask permission first so that we can assemble in one place. The right to petition government, the only way you can do that is by voting the government back in or a different flavour. So, and of course, the only thing we don't have, I've got to be honest, we don't have freedom of the press, really, and we don't have freedom of speech. So I suppose, like 3 out of 5, loosely, is worth it, I suppose.
Okay.
I don't know why we don't just copy the US Constitution personally. What's going on in the chat? I'm sorry, I'm sort of like arguments. Get a US person to come up and pin on the UK, and they will
gets it
right. Okay,
a good plum haggis. I'm a velociraptor.
We're not talking. Are we? Again? 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5, yes.
0.5 out of 5.
No.
You get one
absolutely.
half.
Yeah, absolutely. But so they're the basically what makes it up. Now, this is legal jargon, but a building can be limited to public forum or non-public forum, which makes perfect sense. But you were just talking a minute ago about the local government closing the doors. They made their discussion chambers non-public forum.
Well,
So
depending on what municipality and what state, or whether it's a county or a parish, or if you're in a conglomerate county, which would be a county that is one of three involving a particular city or something like that, you
yeah,
can have very different rules locally as to what constitutes a closed, or whether or not a closed meeting can actually take place.
yeah. So thinking about what you just explained about the local council over there, access may be granted in certain areas and not in others, but they also have the right to change what is classed as where it's granted, where there's permission. So I think that could be what they did. I mean, I've seen it a few times where councils have refused to discuss anything in front of the public, and they made it a closed council session. So that's where it's restricted. But all public buildings are accessible to everybody, especially if they're paid for by through taxes, because we all pay taxes.
No,
Regardless of whether you're working or you're not working, you're paying taxes.
that's not accurate. They
Over
might be,
here it is.
okay. Well, they all right. Yeah, I know. It's just I'm trying to start at the beginning so that I don't stumble over the explanation itself, because it gets a little convoluted when you get into like the corporate legality of public.
We're trying to keep it just keep it nice and simple.
I know, but it's
we
kind
tend
of
to talking. We tend
So
to talking to someone from
I
the
got
UK.
all right. So specifically, you have private property. If I
Mhm.
own private property and you show up on my private property filming, I can tell you to turn that camera off and get off my property. If you
Yes.
do not do so, I can then go through the next few steps, depending on whether or not you're aggressive, whether or not you're damaging property, whether or not it determines the threat level, and thereby determines our reaction. If we get beyond First Amendment type questions, it becomes a Second Amendment question. That's a whole different conversation, right?
Well, that could be next week, but let's see. Let's deal with the first one first.
Okay. So no violence. There's no destruction of property. No threat to anybody. We're just talking. Everybody's talking. Blah 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 blah. I get on the phone, call the cops. Cops show up. You've been trespassed. They remove you physically from the property, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That has officially and effectively abbreviated your First Amendment on my property, and it is perfectly legitimate and legal. And is
Yes.
also perfectly legitimate and legal for a business such as Walmart or Costco or Target to also abbreviate your rights to a limited extent on private property. But when you're dealing with a publicly accessible space, your rights are assumed to be fully in state unless otherwise notified. And once notified, you then have a choice of how you want to handle that. You either abide by the limitation or you go get in your car and leave. The problem has come up recently that A, people aren't leaving, right? And B, cops are following people when they do. And that combination of things makes everything look real dirty on both sides.
Yeah. But if it's public and paid for, then you do have the right of access. It's because you pay for it. So, and if you want to go in, you
But
want
that
to
doesn't mean I can go walk over and climb into a cop car and start spinning the hula woman on the deck.
No, but if they're stupid enough to leave the door open, if you want to sit in it, technically you could, as long as you didn't cause any damage.
Strong advice. I know you're supposed to be coming over here to the States. Please do not.
Do not do it. I know.
Do that.
Just do you think my name is Snowy? I wouldn't do anything like that. Ghost. Hey, they were talking about on a channel. It looks like two people from the dead here. I've got Ghost Eagle in the chat as well. Hello.
What's up, Ghost Eagle? Good to see you, bud.
I think the more people we have with views on the First Amendment, the better. So auditors, I'm going to bring this in, right? Auditors should be aware of where they can go, where they can't go, etc.
Should
Should the
they
councils
before
or
we
the
get there? Hold on, before
yeah
we get there, anyone out there in the YouTube sphere that might be considering themselves becoming an auditor or a frauditor or anything along those lines, before you do any of that silliness, make sure you can recite your lawyer's phone number from memory. Good, solid. You need to know his name, how to get in touch with him, what his multiple phone numbers are before you go auditing.
I agree. Certainly over in the States, I mean, it's slightly different here, but yeah. And the other thing I would say is the reason why it's advisable to remember it, have it etched inside your brain forevermore, is you can't take paper. It gets taken off you. So if you've got it written down somewhere, you're not going to get it. So you do need it. And above all, say absolutely nothing unless you have to, because the law says you have to.
Well,
so
now,
say nothing.
That is your constitutional right. It cannot be used against you if you sit silently. In most cases, the correct response is to not have private conversations with public servants. But if your daughter's missing, you might want to talk to the cop. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm talking about when they pull you up and they start misinterpreting legislation or the law or whatever. I mean, there's a comment put up earlier regarding the UK police enforce law. The US police think they do.
US police enforce policy. That's why they're called police.
Well, yes.
So have sheriffs, and they're a little bit different.
Yeah, well, I was thinking more along the lines of, a traffic stop. You've got to produce over in the States. I think it's your driving license, your car registration, and insurance. You have to show that to them. That's it. Anything else?
If you're operating the vehicle.
Yeah. And if you got a proper driving license and all the rest of it.
Yeah, because once any of those goes clippy, you're probably not getting back in that car.
So, just because you know what the old police are like, 9 times out of 10, they're tyrants. So they're going to enforce whatever they want to enforce or attempt to. And if you say too much, you could quite possibly end up doing yourself an injustice.
Oh,
hello,
yeah.
Hebrew. How are you doing? AJM. Sorry?
I did a show the other night on a case where the cops had evidence the individual had been in the home, had been with the girl, had been in close proximity to the grave. They could prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt. The man knew nothing about it. No clue. But they absolutely knew not only you were there around the time she was killed. They could prove it. But he had no idea what had happened. He just went through and cut the grass. But they sat there and they hammered on him for an hour and a half trying to get him to quote unquote crack. And it was a very revealing interrogation because it shows how aggressive cops can be in the same breath with trying to be your buddy.
Yeah, good cop, bad cop, but in most cases, both are bad.
Right. No, see, the thing is the good cop, bad cop only works whenever one of them's the bad cop and one of them's the good cop. That's the only time that works. If the same person tries to play both sides of that coin, it just short circuits any ability to have a conscious conversation.
Yeah, I totally agree. So that's auditing that sort of like brought into here's an interesting thing that I all of this, by the way, I borrowed more or less. just because a building is a public building in the sense that it was financed and paid for with taxes doesn't mean that there is an automatic access. Sorry, there is automatically access to the public, i.e., or C, Pentagon, White House, and all military bases. They're restricted. They fall
That goes
into
for public parks too that are managed by the National Parks Bureau. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It's the DNR or whatever, the Parks Registry. If it's managed by the Parks Registry and they state that they're closed at a given time, you have to get the hell out.
Yep, and they do that with the equivalent to council parks, which are run by the local authority. If there's a time on it, there's a time on it. And I've seen a lot of people get into trouble over in the US because they're entering an area which technically is closed.
I know a real breach of the First Amendment that's taking place actively today, and it's full on in every park in America. They have made it illegal to use private or public video filmed inside park limits. It's a byproduct of like the White House and various monuments and stuff having been being protective lands and part of like the national park system. And because those rules are in place in those parks, then in Yosemite National Park, 200 miles away from the nearest civilization, if they close the park, you're supposed to find out about that and leave. But also, if you're filming inside the park and it ever gets uploaded to a social media site ever, you may end up coming up on charges and having to pay fines and stuff. That's the way it's kind of set up. It doesn't send you to jail, but it's lawfare by another name.
Yeah. Just want to say good evening to Liberty Minded, and also cycling with the Goths. Don't forget, the majority of you are blue. If you're not blue, please let me know, or I'll have a look at it later and sort something out for you. Public buildings.
Be more satisfied with some talk from Alex Jones. I think he might be an Alex Jones type.
Aye. Public buildings are traditional forums. They are limited public forums or non-public forums, legalese. But in the words of the Supreme Court, nothing in the Constitution requires the government freely to grant access to all who wish to exercise their right to free speech on every type of government property without regard to the nature of the property or to the disruption that might be caused by speakers' activities. Now, ignore the first bit that I read out because that I'm struggling with because I disagree. Because I personally believe that public buildings that are open to the public, unless there's restrictions in place, you should be able to walk through and do whatever you want.
All right, that's a good point. UK transparency brings up a decent point. If an area is restricted, or if you're not supposed to be present in a given area, there has to be clear signage or barriers. And this means like locally a fence has to be like 3 foot tall to be considered an actual fence. Someone has to hop in order to get over the fence for it to be considered trespass. So I don't have a fence in my front yard. I do have a fence in my backyard, right? So my front yard is publicly accessible. Anybody can come in there. They can lay down and treat it like a park. There's not a whole lot I can do about it, right? My backyard's a whole nother ball game. I'm going to walk my bulldog back there, and you can stick around if you like.
At the back, obviously, anyone gets across, technically they'll be trespassing.
Right. The second you come past so the way it reads in the law, and I can't quote it out of hand, but if you have a path to your door that is an invitation for anyone in public who needs to contact someone in this domicile to walk up to that door and knock on it.
Yeah.
It's an invitation. So if they come past the most obvious door and then to the second most obvious door and go past that, then they are trespassing.
Mm-hmm. And that'll lead into something else, Second Amendment,
That's
etc.,
totally
on your property.
Yeah, we've come back.
My interpretation of what the Supreme Court has said is that constitutionally, right, just because a building is a government building doesn't mean to say that you are able to go in, because sometimes properties they have special nature, i.e. military bases.
No, we can be a lot simpler. United States Postal Service is federally funded, federally managed, federally everything, right?
Yeah.
You cannot go into the letter sorting area unless you are qualified to do so. There are doors
or invited.
Alarms and stuff that if you go in there and you are not a officially, even if you work at the post office and you're not supposed to be there, you can be charged federally.
Yes.
Tampering with the U.S. mail is a felony by dint of tampering with the U.S. mail in any way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're in the hallway, the lobbies, even in the payment areas, etc., right? Perfectly legal, not an issue because of what it says in Poster 7. And I've verbatim, I couldn't recite it, but believe me, I've seen that many post office audits from the US.
UK transparency is on it again. Something to keep in mind, folks, is that, and let me put myself on screen so y'all can see this. All right, listen. The government cannot give you rights that are granted by your existence. Your existence is why you have these rights. The fact that you draw breath. The Constitution was written specifically to restrain the government from abbreviating these specific rights that the founding fathers felt were so critical that they knew they would be the first rights that any ruling class came for. And so the words and language of the First and Second Amendment are very, very specific and clear. Very clear. And the term shall not be infringed might be a little overused, but by God, it's a good one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, that you got the First Amendment, which is technically backed up by the Second Amendment, because if anything does actually, to try to take your rights, you've got the right to bear arms and form a militia.
No, it never said that. Nowhere in the Second Amendment does it say you are allowed to form a militia.
No,
it's for a well-formed militia being necessary.
Well, it would be necessary to start taking your rights away.
Or if anybody showed up on the doorsteps trying to demand whatever, a militia would be real handy there too. Hashtag just saying. Probably show up sooner than the cops too.
Now, AGM, what you put in there, the Crown gave the UA its constitution and walked away after reaping the rewards. Well, they got beat in sort of a war, and then the constitution came about afterwards. If I've got that in the right order.
An awful lot of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights was lifted directly from some of the Northeastern Native American congresses that had been assembled right around the signing of the Articles of Confederation, like 80 years, 100 years before the Revolutionary War actually started kicking off, and we actually did that whole thing. The Native Americans had already put together a system of government that seemed to promise individual liberty without tyranny.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the language was lifted directly from that stuff.
Yeah. I've noticed a few comments regarding yourself and myself regarding it's like listening to. Yeah, probably. So we are. Well, I am anyway. So we've looked at various parts. I think it's time to have one last look at the Supreme Court. Supreme Court, the Supreme Court has recognised that the government has recognised that the government. That does not make any sense at all. I must have been stoned when I put that in. So my apologies. No, this is actually what the Supreme Court has said. No less than a private owner of a property has the power to preserve the property under its control for the use for which it is lawfully dedicated. So basically, any government building can be treated as a private building if, for instance, there is no access to it, but to the public because it's restricted. So yes, that's the Supreme Court. And they make about as much sense as I do sometimes. So, keep going the wrong way with this. I do apologise.
That's what she said.
We're going to have a break and time to chat. Anybody wants to come up, I'm going to be very careful. I'm going to pin the link. So we've got a few other people in, maybe some younger people, who want to come up. If you've got, any ideas regarding the links going up there now rather quickly. If you want to come up and have a chat and talk about the First Amendment, by all means do so. If you want to talk about something else, I don't have a problem either.
We're going to talk about all the gay frogs.
Again,
I'm a little bit upset about how every time you turn around and you try to look in a different direction, you find an entirely different branch of the government standing in front of you.
That's true. That's true.
Ladies and gentlemen, they're not actually after me. They're after you. Sorry.
And if you weren't paranoid before, right, okay. Monk's not here. That's considering he said he was going to come over, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to remind you of Monk and his love affair with his friend, Mr. Well, if he's not here, he's not here. What a shame. So, Monk is still famous. And I know somebody else who's got a rainbow mic, by the way. UK Transparency, let's turn into a quiz. Grim, what's the 13th Amendment? See?
Ain't that the one that where women be people now? That they can actually do things?
Was that actually voted in?
Yeah, damnedest thing I ever saw, man. I read about that in the history books. I was utterly flummoxed. I'm like, why would you do that? Dun, dun, dun.
We still have room on the panel for anybody who dares.
Yeah, you could sit over there, or you could sit over here, possibly down
Or-
here, sometimes up there, but I prefer to be on top.
He says. Do you know why he likes to be on top? When he's talking about being on top, what he's really talking about is making sure that he's the one who's the star of the show. So we'll make him into the face of the show now. Oh my God, please turn off the camera.
I find your lack disturbing.
UK transparency grid is the 13th is slavery. What, to have slaves or to let them free?
Oh yeah, right. You can't be housing your slaves in my house. That's one of them. Wait, no, that's not right. That was government forces. Same difference. Same thing.
Well, if it's not entertaining, we've got a problem, folks. Maybe we need other people.
Are you not entertained? How dare you, sir?
I'm going to change his name one day.
You offer enough money, you'd be amazed what can be changed. I might even shave.
To Alex.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Alex Jones doing an impression of course, then again, you could do Mr. Snuffleupagus. It's okay, bird. I don't mind living in the streets.
Say that again.
Well, bird, you have to remember there are 3 branches of legislative government.
That makes sense.
It's the First Amendment. It doesn't say anything about how you say it.
Well, that's
So, like,
true, yeah.
If you wanted to go up there and like say you happen to have a pretty decent Alex Jones voice and you don't normally sound like Alex Jones, but you immediately go up and start speaking like Alex Jones, they're going to douche you out faster. That's enough to make your head spin. You're going to be gone. Use your own voice. That's the best bet. Because, I mean, even if you came up talking like Mickey, you might get more attention, but no one's going to take you seriously.
Well, that's true. That is true. I mean, I never took Disney serious in the first place, but that's like the point. Well,
One of the distinctions I want to make here when it comes to the First Amendment is you have places that are publicly accessible versus places that are public. Anything beyond publicly accessible, there's really no question about it. Beyond a closed door, beyond a closed gate, beyond a marked hallway that is marked personnel only with big signs and shit everywhere, where any rational person who maybe couldn't read might look at this doorway and go, maybe I shouldn't go in there. You know, these are not, because whenever you ask for privacy, you're supposed to create that privacy. That's why you own a home or a domicile or inhabit a cave or whatever it is that you're doing to get through the night. Yeah. That's why you do those things. That is also why it's illegal for cops to roll up outside your house and hit your whole house with a FLIR and decide what you're doing in there and whether or not it's legal.
Right.
Even if they're positive you're growing weed, they can't use that evidence.
Right. I'm just going to bring Big G up.
Hey, old lads, I thought I'll help you out. Fucking hell, you're like 2 old fuddy-duddies, you two. Jesus Christ.
You mean because we're talking about something serious for a change?
Bloody hell, it's like watching paint dry, mate. I'd rather listen to fishing on radio.
Well, no one's asking you today or what again.
I'm just winding you up. I'm just trying to have a bit of banter.
That's what I said. No one's asking you. You have the freedom to do one if you so wish.
That makes it easy, G. I really like the way you come at things from different angles. Not everybody can do that, but I have it on firm authority from a very good source that Hillary Clinton's vagina smells just like brimstone.
I take it you're a Republican then, fella.
Dude, I don't play those games.
What's your opinion on the Second Amendment?
I approve of Second Amendment type activities, provided they're performed legally.
It don't make sense, Second Amendment.
What, the right to defend yourself?
Well, come on, it was written hundreds of years ago. You know, what was the weapons back then? Muskets.
Are the circumstances any different?
Well, the fucking weapons have changed to semi-automatic weapons.
I'm good with semi-automatic weapons. That's fine.
Yeah, that could
Yeah.
be a video.
You know,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Fine. That's one
touch
bullet
your nose.
pull. Any average person can control that. That's not a big issue. My issue is with fully automatic weapons. As long as they're not on the street and we can make an effort to try to keep them off the street out of, quite frankly, criminals' hands, because it's not law-abiding gun owners that you have to worry about, my friend.
yeah, well, you know, let's take Australia for example. You know, they had the biggest shooting massacre ever. You know,
That's
they're
one of
banned.
a deranged individual using a tool. He would have done the same thing with a hammer or a knife had he had access to them and not a gun.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is that they banned weapons, and there's never been another shooting, you know, mass shooting ever in Australia.
Right. And as I remember, they had a whole bunch of COVID camps set up over there, right? Didn't they just round up some folks, stick them in the desert in some resort? Isn't
Well,
that
that was
what happened?
COVID.
It was totally legitimate. That was fine.
Yeah, but well, they even farm off their immigrants into onto islands. You know, they're quite strict with their immigration policy. But anyway, that's going on to a different subject.
That's it. Yeah. let's try to
Right,
let's try to trim around the edges. We'll get back to the
we-
first. All right.
We
my
have
bad.
another. We have another contestant coming up.
And plus,
Hello,
you
Phil.
know, Second Amendment. You know, if you are going to take on the government, you know, they're going to bring drones. You know, to that fight. They aren't going to bring weapons. So government will always win.
I have a friend of mine on YouTube who found an AI poem that explains that quite nicely.
And this is one of the ones that was sent to me that is fucking hilarious. I don't know if it's real or not, but I really hope that it is. USA gun poem. Write a poem in the style of Dr. Seuss about what would happen if the government of the United States sent its military to fight civilians. Shooty shooty, pew pew pew. Let's all learn what guns can do. Liberals in the USA love to nod their heads and say, "You bought your guns from a store. You can't fight a civil war. Fight the army, you will lose. They have jets and tanks to use." That's not where the story ends. They have homes and kids and friends. Tyrants threaten you with bombs? Just remember, they have moms. Jesus Christ. Okay, I'll preface.
I'll abbreviate the rest of that for the tender ears in the room.
Is that you, Shits?
And Pakis, the only skill they've got is like cockroaches. They can multiply.
Is that actually shits and giggles?
No. No.
Buddy who'd be a hell of a drinking buddy, though. You imagine him about 6 pints in, the cops show up and everybody's fixing to go to jail. Nope, you just push him out front and he goes.
He's the one that volunteers.
Mm-hmm. Well, he doesn't know it. Everyone else just took a step back.
Yeah, I disagree with Second Amendment. You know, the Americans are supposed to. It's like, oh, you can't. You know, they're right into Second Amendment. They're like, you can't change the Second Amendment and stuff like that. You know, and it's just like, well, clue's in the fucking name. It's an amendment. Change it. It can be amended.
You have that opinion, and I can have my opinion, and I have experience in the country, and you're reading some stuff on a paper and talking to some folks online.
Yeah. Well, you'll never get rid of guns. NRA's got too much of a stronghold in America, unfortunately.
It's not the NRA, bro. It's every single American over here. There are more bullets than teeth in this place. You have no idea how many guns there are. I know 50 collectors that have like an amazing assortment of weapons that would absolutely curl your toes.
Yeah, I've got family that live out there. My brother, he's in Ohio. Yeah,
Ooh,
so,
that's hardcore, son.
well, it's just full of Amish, really. Is Ohio? But no, that's my opinion on Second Amendment, anyway.
Okay. The First Amendment covers that too. You can have that opinion, and we don't have to fight about it. It's fine.
I'm not fighting. I'm just, trying to create debate here.
You can also be one of those people, if you choose, that say you don't believe in guns, but it's fine. It's fine. My guns believe in you, and that's good enough. Good, dude. I don't understand why you wouldn't want the Second Amendment for yourself. I don't grasp the idea that someone else is going to protect you from a bear. I don't get this. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I can't say we have bears wandering around. I think the wildest thing we've got is a fucking squirrel, and squirrels aren't going to come and attack me.
This might be a related point, is that we have large animals that show up in downtown New York occasionally and eat people. It happens.
So how often is it your wife goes to New York?
I don't know. She's eating a lot more than she goes to New York, though.
Yeah, I was going to say good evening, Denison. Thank you for coming along. And there's a question here. Who's a little fruity Yorkshireman with the funny hair?
That's Big
G. I take it Phil's giving me a bit of shit here.
Really?
Just grow from it, baby. Let your haters be motivators. Let me tell you something. If you watch everything I put up and you hate me, you're also a fan, brother.
Hate's a strong word. I don't hate people. I just have differences of opinion to people.
Yeah, but you are aware that there is such a thing as hate watching. that you can accrue the benefits of such things by being just enough of a dick.
I'll admit I'm a dick, yeah, quite happily agree I'm a dick.
I wasn't calling
Denison,
this. I was just saying I can also accrue these views.
Denison sums it up. England is an island. They don't import deadly animals. They go visit them in India.
Yeah, we don't deserve their deadly animals. We're Brits.
That's the other. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just like Americans. We just make Americans think that they're running place, but they're actually working for us.
Have you seen Biden? Do you honestly think he's running anything?
Oh, Joe Biden? No, is he He's absolutely. How has he got that job? I'll never know.
I could guess, but I'd probably lose my spot on YouTube.
Fuck Joe Biden.
The most comprehensive voter fraud organization ever assembled. He said that out loud to the press. Biden. Go dig it up. There's a clip. No joke. He was trying to talk. He was at a place to talk against voter fraud, about how it's going to be a secure election. We got this all worked out and everything. But then in his rounding up statement, he slipped the tongue in the middle of it and dropped the word fraud in a sentence that wasn't on the teleprompter. He read the sentence, but the word fraud popped out of his mouth in the middle of it. Freud was right.
How he's not been thrown out of a job? Fucking hell. I'm not a Trump fan, by the way, but freaking hell, how was he up for charges and yet Joe Biden?
Takes time. They've been plotting this for years, bro.
There's a little bit of friendly banter in the chat between the UK and America. It's getting quite funny, actually. Please just be mindful. We don't want to upset the snowflakes that are around.
Oh, wait, no. What? No. Snow. It doesn't snow here.
No.
We'll always win in banter stakes anyway,
No, I don't know.
We take the piss properly. We're being brought up as children to take the piss properly.
Can I agree to disagree on that? Because it didn't work with you, did it?
Well, what do you mean?
See what I mean?
Just because I've been giving you grief in chat, Grim.
You haven't been giving me any grief. You're the one who came up. I did say who wanted to be assassinated. You came up. I mean, it's not. I didn't
know we were joining a smoke screen over here. Like, Grim, I didn't know you cared. Look it up, you like. That's good.
Yeah, so I'd like to apologise, Big G, for any offence that you may have taken. It wasn't.
I've not taken no offence, mate.
Damn.
All right, we're going to try again. We're going to start from the top. All right.
It's like what? It's like water is off a duck's back with me.
Quackers.
You ever had poutine?
Pardon?
Poutine. I know I'm not coming on to you. It's an actual food. Really. It's enjoyed up in the Great Lakes region by Southern Canadians, essentially. But it's cheese, curd, and duck gravy on French fries, typically.
Oh, no.
No, can't say I've had that.
Awesome. I hear it's amazing. The only poutine I ever came across was in a can, and it was absolutely heinous. I don't think it was right.
Phil says that he doesn't take the piss. He's posh. He extracts the urine. Well, we know he's a cocksucker then, don't we?
Oh, you giving Phil shit. Oh, I'll be crucifying you now.
It's not often I get a word in with him. But you only have to do it once. I hope are we including Scousland in the UK, by the way? I think we better had. I'm the real get up there.
Ah, she's from Cheshire anyway. She's a posh bird.
She's not from Cheshire.
Yeah, she lives in Cheshire now.
She lives in Cheshire now.
Yeah, posh bird, I tell you.
She's still not in Cheshire.
I know. I just like winding her up. Oh
Well,
God,
you
Grim, can't you just play along? Bloody hell!
No, if there's anyone going to insult Anne Marie, it'll be me, not you.
Whereabouts in America do you hail from then, Yankee boy?
The South.
Say that again.
He's up on the Yankee boy shit. Deep South, son. You know, around there. Nah, Georgia. Yeah, one of them original 13 rebels.
Hillbilly region then.
Southern Appalachia. Yeah. Not wrong.
Evening Black Watch or afternoon? Oh, you're good. We're just talking about crap at the moment. Apparently, it's more interesting than what we were talking about.
Well, what you was on about first? The First Amendment. Well, I can't, again, First Amendment, it's on paper that everyone has freedom of speech and whatnot, but there's laws against it now anyway, isn't it? So, again, it's a dying thing, it's freedom of speech.
Have you ever tried to shut up a crazy man on a subway at 2 o'clock in the morning? Have you ever seen two black women fighting in a laundromat parking lot?
I have actually.
Freedom of speech will forever reign.
End of. There's only certain things which aren't covered under First Amendment, but I'll let you look those up because there's nothing there which you wouldn't suspect anyway. Freedom is a bumper sticker. It's actually, but still. So yes. Fine. Okay.
Yes. Okay. All right. I'm with you.
Yes, thank you, Snowy. That reminds me. Big G, you staying for the second part?
What's the second part?
The second part of the First Amendment.
Yeah, I'm all good for it. Let's crack on.
Okay. Hi, Kirsten. How you doing? Right. So, lobby areas of government buildings. To date, there is no US Supreme Court case establishing the right to film public officials engaged in carrying out their official duties or the right to film inside public buildings. The cases in which the US Courts of Appeal have recognized a right to record concern one category of public employees, police officers engaged in one type of activity, carrying out public duties, and one type of area, traditional public forum. So that's all I've been able to find, because I questioned the information which I got in the first place, and did a little bit of research around it, and some of it sort of stands up, and that does as well. So technically speaking, there's no Supreme Court decision or any case which has confirmed the right to film. But at the same time, if there hasn't been, that means that you can continue, because it's still an unanswered question.
Well, it ain't illegal. But let me give you another tip about American methods. Punishable by fine means legal for a price.
Yes.
We're not saying you can't go 120 miles an hour. We're saying we're going to charge you for anything over 55.
That's the same over here, yes. And you're not allowed to park. There's certain places you cannot park, otherwise you get fined, which includes within 200 meters of a school crossing, the occasional traffic light. And then you've got blue markings, which is for disabled. And you got yellow, which I believe is it fire hydrant, or is that the red one? I can't remember now. But there's three anyway. Markings on the pavement. Snowy's nodding, shaking his head as if to say I'm incorrect. So I stand
clue,
to
I have no freaking clue. I've never been over there. I have no clue what the
not here, over where you are, over in the States.
over here. Yeah. Depending on municipalities, fire hydrants are typically red. Anything to do with the fire lane is red. Anything to do with police lanes are typically either blue or white. Sometimes if they're striped. Then you've got your yellow curbs, which are no parking, and then you have the different lines on the road, which are representative of different things depending on what type of area you're in. So if you're in a high speed area where there's not a whole lot of traffic expected, you might get a double white line because there's no a dotted center line because there's no curves ahead you can pass should you come across a tractor or a cow in the road, right? But that's not there for you to try to fall out and pass the ninja that's running 160 miles an hour. Just so we're clear, it doesn't mean you have to pass.
Means you may pass.
You could, if something were getting your way, you can get over that.
Well, I thought they'd introduced the blue markings for disabled parking only.
In a lot of places, yes. But a lot of cops also park there.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're disabled, so they,
it's terrible.
They feel entitled.
If we had a guy up here, hold on, dude. Let me. I come into a jet the other night. This is about 2 weeks ago, and this cop had pulled in and parallel parked across 4 parking spots, and the guy inside was sweeping, and the cop hops out, walks up, and the guy reaches over and locks the door. The cop shakes the door. It's a 24-hour store. It never closes. Cop can't get in. He goes back to his car, sits there for a minute. I come walking up. The guy reaches over and unlocks the door. I walked in. He reached back over and locked the door again. Cop turned and parked his car and come up, and dude unlocked the door and let him in. And that is perfectly legal. What the cop was doing was not.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I find a lot of things the cops do not illegal. A case in 2020, Commonwealth versus Bradley, the Superior Court of Pennsylvania upheld a no filming restriction imposed in a lobby of a police department as reasonable restraint on free speech. Now, that's not the Supreme Court, that's one below it, I would have thought. But it's in the state of Pennsylvania.
I'm not familiar with that one in Pennsylvania.
No.
I
Just
think-
Just out of interest, because over here we have obviously common law, we have maritime law. Do you have like a distinct difference over in the States, split between the two?
Okay, so a lot of people make the error of going to Black's Law Dictionary to try to parse out what American laws mean. Our definitions are largely based in Black's Law Dictionary. Some of the language goes all the way back to the Magna Carta. So it's a well thought out document when it comes to that end. I mean, what blows my mind is some people seem to just believe out of course because we live in a more advanced time that we are more advanced people. And the amount of thought that went into that document encompasses several generations when it comes down to it. And the attempt to actually write that document was ballsy as hell for a bunch of people fixing to have their heads cut off by the king.
Yeah, of course. The only reason why I bring it up is like maritime law is what we call acts and statutes over here, and the whole purpose of maritime law is you have to actually give consent. It's the consent of the governed. So if you actually don't consent to it, really, you're not breaking any laws. You know, you're not creating a contract with them. Soon as you actually give consent, i.e., like your name, your ID, and whatever, you're actually then in contract basically, so they can then charge you under common law.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're talking something along the lines of the right to travel and the way it's ensconced in like Articles of Confederation and the Constitution and whatnot.
Yeah, similar to freedom of travel. Yeah, right to travel and stuff.
That's derived almost directly from Old World common law. Yes. So our right to travel goes like this. As long as you don't have to cross a fence or damage property to go there, we can't really stop you, even on private property, even if it's marked private. As long as you're not damaging nothing on your way through, nobody's supposed to say anything. However, if you get an asshole landowner who's like putting barbed wire up and stuff, you can't cross the barbed wire. It's just all there is to it. And it doesn't have to be barbed wire. It can be a freaking string. If he marks the property out about waist high, you're not supposed to cross that line because it is a well deviated, marked location.
Well, I've learned something new there. Like I say, sorry if I interrupted there, and it wasn't direct, so related to the First Amendment or whatever.
No, don't worry about it. You're welcome up anytime. You know that, Big G.
There's an extension of that that's kind of interesting. Any body of water capable of having a canoe placed in it and paddled is considered a navigable waterway. But by the DNR code or whatever it is, it's any water navigable by a 3-foot draft boat. So by common law, almost anything wet is considered a navigable waterway. But by the actual law of like the federal government, you have to be able to run a decent sized John boat in there for it to be considered navigable. So most of the time, if you've got a canoe and you're traveling down a creek and you come across a landowner who's out there fishing, they might not even wave at you on the way by. You're traveling, you're busy.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a cultural thing, I don't know, but I've seen it happen. It's you're free to use it. We can't stop you.
Yeah, that's why they don't own the car. Nothing to do with them because they've never signed up with it. Hence the reason why they drive around with no tags on, or registration plates as we would call them, and that's where they initially get stopped. So they're free to travel. So yeah, it's similar to that.
Yeah.
Not true. Free travel consists of
That's what I would say about a
interstate
federal government
commerce.
definition of like free travel and navigable waters and where you can go. A person, an individual who gets on his footsies and walks can go many, many, many more places legally than simply when you get into a vehicle or on a motorcycle or even a bicycle, which is a recognized conveyance. You cannot necessarily take a bicycle across some random dude's land, but if they catch you back there riding a horse through it, they probably won't say anything about it. It's a different culture. It's a cultural difference. If you're out there riding motorbikes, they're going to call you up and they're going to call up and have you trespass. But you ride a horse through, nobody cares.
Yeah, I mean, with the commerce thing, Hebrew, yes. If you are doing a service, getting paid, etc., one way or another, and you need a vehicle, you have to be registered, or that vehicle has to be registered. So yeah, sort of. I can see exactly where you're coming from with that. Well, that is my lot of what I wanted to discuss. As I say, I just wanted to go through the First Amendment because a lot of people seem to think that auditors base what they say, certainly in America, they base what they say, I should say, on the First Amendment. And there's a lot of so-called, these so-called fraudster channels that look at things and they change it. They put a different narrative on it, and they try to say that what they're doing is not, they're not entitled to do that under the First Amendment.
I would once like to have an actual full-blown frauditor channel actually talk to me as if we're people. Because when we start discussing constitutionality, it turns out they're from Canada. And I'm like, how is this a conversation that can be had? Like you're reading from a document when I have experience in living it, you know? The reality of the situation is different from what's written on paper. Not everyone is evil.
Yeah.
Some people are just assholes. They're not evil. They're just having a bad day.
I think the biggest thing with these fraudster channels and the ones that, or these that fall out, the bigger name ones, shall we say, and even some of the smaller name ones, they're calling them out because of the monetization. And they've basically got nothing else to do than to use somebody else's work and criticize it and that way they can claim to be making their own.
But it's fair.
My concern is
he told something to me about this early on when he first started blowing up as an auditor. He's like, I've got these people, they're using my content. I said, send me a link to a video, let me check it out. Every single link he sent me was a clear example of fair use. They are criticizing you for what you are doing. That is squarely in the critique education sphere and entertainment with the way they're doing it. So it's legit. Sorry. You can get angry about it. You can respond to it, or you can just ignore it, which is what I advise, is to ignore the haters and use their views as a platform from which to scream from the mountaintop.
Yeah. No, what I was getting at is that a lot of, because channels get monetized and because they put links out for donations and even some of these who just do presenting, they have Buy Me a Coffee app and things like that. What are these channels going to do when all these third-party links get stamped out by YouTube, which is on its way? They're not going to have a channel, these others, because they can't argue that.
YouTube, I guarantee you, man, YouTube will have something in the works to take the place of that third-party link situation.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of how, and they'll get 30% and it won't be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, this is it, and that'll be the reason why they're doing it. But it's down to the individuals, if they choose to, get by a super chat or whatever, for argument's sake.
Thing is, when Money Talks done it, So it don't really matter. And plus, the other, as you well know, Grim, fucking drama sells. So whether it's good or bad, drama,
Yeah, but what
will create money.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, but they're not going to. It's going to create YouTube money.
Oh yeah, the YouTube will always profit out of it. And
Yeah,
I'm not arguing that.
They'll be entitled to to have whatever the equivalent is that YouTube put in. YouTube are banning it because they can't control it.
That's the purpose. That's
Yeah,
the
and they'll just take more of a cut as well, Grim. That's the whole point of them doing this. Is because they know that they're getting out of pocket from it, so they'll think, we'll put a mechanism in it so we can actually gain out of this drama.
Yes, that's it, and that's what it's all about. But I just think that I think they're going to get a bit of a shock because some of the things which people come out with, apart from being ludicrous, there's just no evidence whatsoever to it. It's just all about the drama and trying to create chaos for some people. But
I generally avoid drama, just in general.
That's just some people have got too much time on their hands, haven't they?
Yes.
Keyboard warriors.
Yeah, well, that's it. What else are they going to do? They just sit there and tap away. Some of them got a voice. I don't have an issue with that. You got a voice, that's fine.
Right.
But
if you've got 136 profiles and the time to operate all of them, you probably are an asshole.
Right, I'm going to dash anyway. Nice talking to you, lads.
No problem. Cheers. Thank you for coming up, Big G.
All right. I'll be in your next live, winding you up as well, Grim.
Oh, it's not a problem. Anytime you want to.
All right, Snowy. See you later, Yankee boy. Ta-ra, mate. No, you're probably one of the first Americans that actually I know. You actually know what that means. Most Americans don't know what that means.
Damn, I thought I could play dub. Shit.
Last time I was over in America, I was doing that loads, telling them to fuck off, and they were like looking at me like to say I was throwing a gang sign or saying victory or whatever. I'm like, the only one they understand is middle finger.
Yes, and they forget you got two.
Yeah. No, I'll leave that, Snowy. Right, see you later.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
The first time I was showing that on YouTube by an American, they said it was to do with peace, and I had to explain.
Before that, it meant victory over J-Day. Before that, it was victory over the Huns. Before that, it was it's been used by virtually every culture since the dawn of time to represent we survived and you died. Congratulations,
yes.
We write the history.
Yeah.
So pluck you is just another one of those.
I just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Humor
is.
So what time is it over there where you are now?
4:33.
Sorry, 4:33
p.m.
p.m. That's all right.
It's about time for my coffee and crumpets.
Oh, well, I'll let you go and eat your coffee and crumpets in peace. If there's nobody else who wants to hop up and continue, I'm going to call it a night and get some sleep.
There you go. You know how you old gentlemen need your sleep.
Well, I'll be up in the early hours, and if you're live, you know what'll happen. I'll end up on there taking the piss.
I kind of thought about doing a live tonight, but it's not my normal night.
Well, see how it goes. You know,
I've got loads of freaking material over here. I've hit a honey hole of just really stupid stuff, really dumb people doing crazy things. Like one guy's trying to build a rocket to prove the Earth is flat. I can't wait. The last guy killed himself. This is going to be great.
Hang on a second. Didn't the US government do that?
What, prove the Earth was flat or not? I have a proposition for you. This is for everybody in chat too. Rule 34. Is Rule 34 an unbreakable law of the universe?
is Rule 34 an unbreakable rule?
Because if Rule 34 is an unbreakable law of the universe, why are there no leaked videos of zero G sex in space? Where's those videos? Rule 34 states those videos happened immediately after a guy and a girl, or a guy and a guy for that matter, because I'm not terribly picky. I just want proof. And with a distinct gap in Rule 34, that puts a chink in the whole armor now, don't it? The whole thing.
Well, it's a question. Did you get to see either live or the replay on the news regarding India robot landing of their
I
spaceship
saw something about it,
on
but
the south side of the moon? Now, I saw a clip of it, and they didn't actually show the landing. They showed a pretty crappy CGI
Well,
of
I gotta be honest.
it landing.
That's still a pretty good shot from the Earth.
From the shot, but close.
If they manage to actually hit the moon from the Earth, I'm gonna give them an E for effort. However,
Yeah.
if it's CGI, that's a whole nother bag of worms. That's what I'm saying.
No, that was just a landing.
Is a thing.
Yeah, they owned up to it. They did say it was a simulation, but the whole flight, everything was done from the one control center, right? And I don't know why I had this flash of a brainwave, and I was thinking, so how many consoles had they actually rigged up to that screen?
Right? What was it? Was it a Logitech controller? It was a Logitech controller, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Oh my dear monkeys! Oh,
They landed in Fresno by mistake.
what was it? Werner von Braun said after the second V2 rocket test, said that the test went absolutely flawlessly, but it landed on the wrong planet. Something like that. It should have landed on the moon, but they didn't let me aim for the moon. It made me aim for Britain so flawlessly. It's wrong planet.
As I say, I just thought it was. I thought it was brilliant technology, and it was an interesting 5-minute discussion that I saw. Couldn't understand a word of it because most of it was in Indian, but I got the gist when everybody started clapping. I thought somebody had learnt or had actually won the game they were playing on the big screens. But anyway, congratulations, India, on your first remote robotic landing on the south side of the moon, which apparently is the hardest place to land because of all the craters. So pinpoint accuracy for getting in between and landing on the flat bit. In the meantime, any final words, Snowy, to your millions of fans out here?
Stop looking for Sasquatch in the woods. We moved to the suburbs years ago. That's right.
Oh, did you find the Muffin Man, by the way? In Joe Cooks.
The one from Drury Lane? Yeah.
That's all right. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I pointed you in the right direction this morning.
That creepy bastard.
Did you shoot him? They definitely didn't use a TomTom to get there. No, absolutely not. And it wasn't Google Earth either. Sorry, Google. Final thoughts.
Do your thing, dude. Kick me out. Do the thing. You got a thing.
You got a thing.
Do the thing.
Do the thing. I've got to kick you. That's a shame. Right. This is what he always does. He puts people backstage while he finishes off the show and then talks for 5 minutes a load of crap, you know. But still, thank you, everybody, for coming in tonight. It has only been a short one tonight, as they say, and no, Bear wasn't here. There's a few wisecracks about Bear. He's away enjoying himself for the next few days. I've got Grimdaughter here for tonight and tomorrow, so I'm going to be enjoying Grimdaughter for the weekend. I'll take her back home on Sunday, and all things being equal, she'll have lots of sugar inside her, and revenge is so sweet, as they say. But anyway, we showed the one version, the second version of this. This is the original. It was, I'm going to play out with this, and it was Snowy that did it. Thank you so much, Snowy, for putting...
Welcome to the Grim Reaper Radio Network, the final resting place for ideas both controversial and tame. I'm death, not taxes. I turn up only once. The truth may be out there, but the lies are inside your head. Despite the rumor, Death isn't cruel, merely terribly good at his job. It is often said that life is cheap. This is, of course, completely wrong. Life is often very expensive, but you can get death for free. Do you not know that a man is not dead while his name is still spoken? Light thinks it travels faster than anything, but it is wrong. No matter how fast light travels, it finds the darkness has always gotten there first, and is waiting for it. Join Grim on his distinctly underground network.